I really need to stand, honestly. Oh. My name is Jennifer, I'm an addict. The reason why I want to stand is because I could project my voice a little bit more. I am so nervous. I don't know what, I heard it was 45 minutes. I don't know where I got that from, but I heard it's 15 minutes. So I really want to do this topic. I want to do this topic justice. I want to bawl. I want to bawl. This message is for the newcomers. Anybody at their very first meeting in Turkey, just raise your hand. This isn't to embarrass you, but if you don't raise your hand, please know from the bottom of your heart, you're welcome. You're welcome and you're in the right place. A moment's silence for the children who doesn't know that their mother's going to come home or their father because of the horrors of addiction. And I say this not lightly because that was me. Grab a moment's silence. And for those siblings, aunties, uncles, parents who have not yet found narcotics anonymous, give us a moment's silence. Our basic text tells us clearly any addict can stop using, lose the desire, and find a new way to live. Cluttered spirits. See, when Aaron gave me that topic, I was like, because I've had cluttered spirits in recovery. You know, when I looked at the definition of cluttered spirit, it started to talk about garments and things, and then I looked at another bit. When I Googled it, it talked about spirits. On the 4th of September, just for today, it talked about cluttered spirits. Yeah, it talked about it's our 8th and 9th step. You know, I kind of wanted to put a spin on it because I felt it was powerlessness as well. And I'm just going to give you a backstory for me because I wouldn't do this program any justice if I didn't tell you where I'm coming from. All right. So I come from abuse after abuse after abuse. Yeah. Individuals who are supposed to be looking after me. I'm talking about men, not women. Who's supposed to be looking after me, who's supposed to be my caregivers. And they just abused me. Through the evidence of this program, I've identified some men in my life who's raised me, which is my siblings, my brothers. I have 3 brothers. They didn't abuse me. But the elders in the family, so I come from a place of incest. And I'm trying to battle with it. It doesn't matter whether it was incest or not, because it wasn't. He was not my father. I grew up at 21 years old. I recognised he wasn't my father. I'm just hoping for some more healing as I share this. And so obviously I felt different because it was my siblings' dad. And if anybody who knows me, I look completely different from my siblings. And I believed it was my, and when I found out that he wasn't my dad, I felt this relief of freedom. I found out he wasn't my dad when I was 3 years clean, he died. And I was like, whoopee! And then the second breath came, actually, Jen, you just landed, you still got the feelings. It doesn't matter. You're going to have to work through these feelings. That's what I'm talking about, cluttered spirits. My spirit was cluttered long before I came out of my mother's womb. It was cluttered because there was something on my shoulder. You know, the revenge was taken out on me. For whatever reason, it doesn't matter. I've learned it doesn't matter. My responsibility is to work through this program diligently. Fast forward, I found cannabis when I was 16. I was a Rastafarian. So at that point, I was introduced to God. I was introduced to God through religion. And the religion was 7-day Adventists, predominantly that. And obviously they were too strict for me, but I found Rastafarian, which was great because I was able to burn my ganja, and you know the rest is history. It was a gateway to other drugs. Fast forward, I found recovery through my stepfather. And this was my stepfather who absolutely loved me, and he didn't abuse me. He loved me and nurtured on me, and he came into my life when I was 15. Sadly, he died now 30 years ago, and I found crack cocaine. So my using is very clear. It's ganja, crack, and that was it. That was my pathway. Anyway, I fast forward, I got myself into treatment through a direct result of my stepfather. I found it in the yellow pages, the red telephone box. I haven't looked back. I celebrated 29 years on the... The following day I was 29, and this is all in God's making. I know that Aaron and Annette had no idea. When Annette rang me and said she's going to have her birthday party, I thought I'm going to keep my mouth shut because I know they're going to want me to share. And obviously, if you've got a husband like mine, he let the cat out. So they got me on the speaker jam. But anyway, fast forward, treatment. I walked into a treatment centre. I seen the word God, and I thought, I belong here. Just because of the word God, nothing else. I understood that no one looked like me, and I thought I didn't belong. But the truth is, I wanted to get away from the dealers. That was it, period. My journey isn't prison. You know, I was promiscuous. You know, when I came into this fellowship, I did hear people were abused in the treatment centre where I was. You know, they all was heroin users, and I did feel different because of the colour of my skin. Anyway, fast forward, I went to a treatment centre in Nelson. Sorry, scrub that out, erase that out. A place in Stroud. If God's got anything to do with it, it's never too late. Amen. So I went fast forward, went to a place in Stroud, Bristol, landed up in here. It's so nice. I met Karen, me and Karen cleaned up at the same time. So, you know, there's depth and weight in this room, you know. I was sharing with the girls from Stroud, and they were just like bowled over. They didn't know that was my journey. Anyway, fast forward, I got into recovery really, really fast. And to be honest, there was no females either. So the brothers, they were white. They raised me up, if I'm really honest. And none of them took advantage of me. So then I can say that I experienced that. Nobody was looking for anything from me. But fast forward, I stayed. And this brother come up to me, a white brother, his name is Steve Rice, and he said to me, Jen, please stay. And many of you come, and many of you go. And what he meant to say, a lot of black women come, and black women are simple. And I stayed. I didn't think I had a responsibility to stay for anybody coming behind me. But as the years has gone by, I can actually say people have come up and said, Jen, it's really nice to see a woman of colour. Like, we can't deny it. Diversity is our strength, you know, and it's really nice to see the diversity in this fellowship. You know, when I cleaned up, there was no step working guide. There was this little white book and how a white works. But fast forward, cluttered spirits, making amends. Would you believe that my mum passed away? And this is, if I cry, I cry. But you know, my mum passed away, and I managed to get some resentments around my siblings, just because they wanted to sell her clothes and I didn't want to sell her clothes. we argued because my mum gave my kids more money than them, and oh my God, it was just mayhem. But you know, I've had to go back. You know, and in the Just for Today, it talks about we make amends for ourselves. And I know when I first cleaned up, we thought we had to make amends because of everybody else had suffered through our addictions. But we're making amends to ourselves to clear our spirits, so that we can clear our side of the street. And I didn't apologise for them sort of bulldozing me with the money or bulldozing me with the clothes of my mum's. It was more about how I reacted. That was it, was how I reacted, you know. And I was saying to Junior as I was coming down, and we were talking about death, and I said, you know what, Junior, I've got a resentment around my mum. And he's like, why, Jen? Because she hasn't come to me in a dream. And I was driving, as I was coming down to Billy's Beach, I just started to burst out crying, do you know what I mean? And I kind of guess, I want to say that I miss her. And I dedicate these 29 years to her, because if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here. You know, those foxhole prayers, or we pray like I will never do it again, and I've done that to her, and she's been on the fetal position, and I've said, Mom, I've relapsed, and she's like, she just stuck by me. And I'm hoping I'm going off the topic, but one of the things I remembered when I decided to make my journey through, I did everything. If you said jump, I said how high. And I remember just before I left the treatment centre at the time, I was going into Bristol, and I rang my mum. I said, Mum, I'd already done all the paperwork and I'd agreed to go, and I said, Mum, the people at the treatment centre want to send me to Bristol. And she turned around, she said, Jenny, go up Bristol. And really what I wanted her to say was, come back to Notting Hill. She didn't. I'm going to get current, because, you know, the Cluttered Spirit is about the exact nature. Alright, so the exact nature for me is that I've recovered from food addiction, I've recovered from relationships, codependency, the relationships that hasn't served me no purpose, who's gone the full 9. I've recovered from spending, you know. And how I've looked at my life is that God has put people in my way for many, many reasons, you know. I'm just currently doing a first step. And I thought, when I pursued this sponsor, I pursued him, as you can hear I'm saying him, I pursued him because I needed a male figure in my life. Not my husband, I mean he's been an absolute diamond, but I needed that energy, that male energy. Like, I've had my relationship with Soul for over 10 years, and I've got relationships with individuals, but I just needed someone to take me through the steps without an emotional thing, shall I say. Someone who's going to cut straight through to the exact nature. I chose this man because he's a man of God, you know, and I'm not saying that the women that's taken me through, they've had their relationships with the God of their understanding, but I wanted somebody who actually walks with God. And I haven't got enough time just to tell you how miraculous this man has come into my life and how we are doing the steps together. So I'm starting to write these steps, and everything that's come up in my step work has been about money, the resentments that I have, you know, that my spirit is just being cluttered, you know. And I was talking to Emma yesterday, and we're talking about, I'm jumping around because I'm trying to get this in. We're talking about, you know, sponsorship and women and all this great stuff that we do with these women. And she said to me, not many times that people talk about how much effort and how much we give to sponsorship. And in our working guide, it talks about our 10-step. And I'm telling you this from my heart. Like, all the women who sponsored me, they've come in my life for a reason, right? And I've been, with integrity, I've left them without any bad comments. I've experienced that. I've experienced that. My husband, he goes on the back burner. They're in my bedroom, they're in my front room, you know, and my spirit has been cluttered once they haven't had that integrity to say, Jen, you've taken me as far as we need, that's it. Like, I'm hearing resentments like 4 or 5 years ago, like, you know, but I've got to work through that. I'm sharing this because some of you will go through that process, but it's no matter what, you know. How long have I got?
10 minutes.
Oh, 10? Oh, Julia, I love you. Couple of minutes, Shayon said in my left ear. I made some amends over the recent, couple of weeks, about a month or so. And the amends that I've made has not been, it's been of my own making, and been very judgmental about how people are supposed to work their program, how they're not going to do it my way, and I'm being really serious. And the very things that gnawed on my spirit was the very thing that I wanted, which was a relationship with God. God is my Father. He's my everything. And I've made God my Father, my Heavenly Father, or whatever you want to say. Wherever He is, God is everything. It's not just in heaven, He's in everything. He's within you. I see a God in all of us, you know, and I've had courageous conversations over this weekend, and it's really freed my spirit. In the Just for Today, it talks about, you know, why wouldn't we clean the decks? Why wouldn't we do a house clearing? We don't have to pay anyone to come and clean our house. We've got the steps. We've got the 12-step program, the God-given program. We've got the literature. Please take time and just read the literature, because the literature now, after 29 years, I'm not saying it hasn't come alive in so many ways. You know, I used to be 4 or 5 stones heavier than what I'm sitting in now. I've recovered from cigarettes, you know. I'm in therapy with my girls. You know, when I opened up, I'm going to end it here. You know, when I opened up, and I said have a moment's silence, you know, for the suffering addicts, or the children who didn't ask to be on the back end of our addiction. I know that my children had their higher power, you know, and those who know me, especially Karen, see that I've raised my daughters through this fellowship. It really turned out well, and it's not credit to myself, it's credit to my mum, it's credit to the fellowship, who's taught me how to reparent, who's taught me, importantly, how to love on myself, how to forgive. You know, I want to say that my spirit is no longer cluttered because I can go to God. I like peace, I like quiet, and I just want to give a big shout out to my husband, because he's been patient, he's been kind, he's been loving. I'm not saying it was the menopause, I'm not saying it was I had an injury, and so that aspect of my life has been zilch. And he's never ever one day say to me, What? It's been patient. It's been patient, kind and loving. And that's when I said, you know, I didn't want my husband to be that energy. Of course I want him to look after me. He knows that all day long. And he has looked after me. I'm going to end it on here. I'm grateful that I'm walking. Last year I was in Turkey celebrating Pooja and Juna's wedding. I was here for my own wedding in 2019. I walked. I was here for Aaron and Lynette's in 2014. I've come now to celebrate with you guys walking. I didn't believe I could walk. I was on 2 crutches. Now, if there's not a God, I don't know what is. And I want to just say that I'm truly grateful for Aaron asking me. This 7 days, coming up to 5 days, has been awesome. I'm Jennifer, I'm an addict, and thank you for listening.
Doesn't seem to be too easy a subject, and it's a bit hard to follow Jennifer. Always has been. We did service together, and we didn't fight. I fight with everyone. I didn't fight with Jennifer. You might, some of you get that in the step 10 in our basic text. I'm a bit of a not a book quoter. I love the programme. I can't explain that. We don't have much time. But in the step 10 of our basic text, for anyone who's new, it says there's certain things that can put you in the mood to use. And they call them the halt in treatment. I'm one of those people who went to treatment 8 times. And I finally ended up working in treatment, and it didn't fucking work for me. It didn't work for me. It worked for me when I was in it. I was the best recovering addict on the planet when I was in it. I could hoover the stairs and tell people what to do, but it didn't work for me. The minute I got out into the real place, into the real world, it didn't work. But in the basic text it says, if you're hungry, or if you're angry, or if you're tired, or if you're lonely, you have to check yourself, because there's a good chance you might start thinking of trying to make yourself feel better. And there's an extra one they don't add. The extra one is taking yourself too fucking serious, isn't it? And I really do not take myself seriously. Something that I've had to learn. I'm standing up because the chair's hot. I'm thanks, Jen. Yeah, so I don't take myself seriously. It's something I've really had to learn in NA. And I've done the steps in many different ways, and the steps have really helped me. And my subject again, Sion, is bend like the wind. It's bend with the wind. It sounds really inappropriate. You know, it's like the closest thing I could think of, and like Jenny, I Googled it. And I went through the Adobe on the literature, so I'm dying to know where the topic come from. The only thing I can think of is a thing of when I was a kid. There used to be Kung Fu on the television when I wasn't going to school, because I didn't go to school. And the old Kung Fu David Carradine guy used to say, bend with the wind, grasshopper, do not be stiff like the oak. And I fucking loved that. I loved that. It was like, you know, just that, ooh, I could swerve around people. You know, I loved that when I worked in a few clubs. I liked slipping past people while I'm off my tits. I loved it, you know. I liked taking drugs. I liked getting out myself. I didn't want to stop. I really didn't want to stop. And in 1992, I went to Wandsworth Prison. This is just mad. I want to try and speed this up a bit. I went to Wandsworth Prison in 1992. I was on a technicality for a robbery, and I got 9 months. People don't get 9 months of shoplifting. You know, I got 9 months, and I couldn't pass the urine screen. I used to get my money on a Friday, and I'd get urine screened on the Monday, and I'd get more time. Well, I came out 2 years later, and I still didn't think I had a problem. I really didn't think I had a problem. I thought, fucking hell, you know. It's because they keep testing me on the Monday. That's what the issue is, you know, because it's always their fault, isn't it? So I was rigid with it. So when I was in there, I went to an NA meeting. There was a famous footballer who was there talking about his coke habit, and I just thought, wanker. You know, he doesn't use I use. He's not like me. I'm not interested at all. But somebody said, try and get 30 days clean, and it was impossible. It was impossible. It's absolutely impossible for this addict. And when I came out, I really tried to stop. And I really tried to stop, and I really tried hard. And I went on one of these microwave weekend big book things. And when I came out, I walked around with my eyes all big, going, but anything what you put in the microwave gets cold quickly, doesn't it? You know, so it's like, it wasn't working for this addict. And I thought that if I really rigidly fucking worked at this, somehow I would get clean. I went to a meeting called Early Risers in Chelsea, and then I would go to the Soho midday meeting, and then I'd go to another meeting in Belgravia at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then I'd go to Finsbury Park in the evening. And I thought that if I just keep going to fucking meetings, I'll get it. Somehow it will just come into me and I'll get it. And I used to go and revisit my old church where I was brought up. I was kind of hijacked as a Catholic as a kid, you know, and my family were very religious, and I went there, and it couldn't stop me from using. It just couldn't. And wind the tape forward, 10 years later, in 2003, I'm coming out of detox. I know what to do. I know how to influence the audience by quoting the book. I'm very good at recovery like that. You know, I can sound very well. My recovery is basically like this. You know, I understand what's wrong with me. I know what to do with it. And what drugs did for me was drugs showed me that I was an addict. You know, drugs didn't, you know, I didn't become an addict because I took drugs. Drugs showed me that I was an addict. I was the addict waiting to happen. And then all the other things happened as soon as I start getting clean. I had a friend called George, had big long dreads on the committee in London Convention. He really fancied me. He's not with us anymore. He really fancied me, George. And he used to say to me, Frankie, you're growing in recovery. You got a big belly. You know, and it was that thing of, I was going to the Polish cafe. I'm stuffing myself. I'm fixing myself with food and not even knowing it. Then it was the scratch cards. Start buying the scratch cards. All that thing about powerlessness, you know, powerlessness is very simple to know. You know it before you do it. When you're an addict, before you do step work, you know you're powerless. You know you're going to spend the rent money, don't you? You know you're going to go and cash all that stuff in you might have stolen. So I'm in this kind of route of doing step work. I've been Hazelden step work. I've done the RAPS program. I've been taken through the green and gold in 2003. In that year, I went through it twice. I found out how to do it. You know, it doesn't make me a better addict than you lot. I ingested and digested that stuff really well. But the main thing around my change was not only understanding what's wrong with me and learning how to deal with it, was to understand the power greater than myself, step 2, which was the literature. I argue with everything. I think half of our literature is crap. You know, everyone else goes, oh, praise the literature. I think some of it's nonsense. I think who is an addict is stupid. When I first came in, I loved it. But now I think, you know, it says, you know, you're an addict because you're addicted to drugs. You know, you're addicted because... Someone help me with who is an addict there. Where did we read it earlier? Most of us do not realise. Come on, I do this trick all the time. Come on, none of you know who is an addict is. None of come on. Use and use to live. So simply, an addict is a man or a woman whose life is controlled by drugs. Well, so is my diabetes, so is my blood pressure, so is my cholesterol. You know, come on. My life, I'm not an addict because I take cholesterol, you know, because I take statins. You know, my life's controlled by that shit, but it doesn't make me an addict. So I argue with all this. I argue with myself. I argue with you lot. And thankfully I've learned that if I find someone, whatever nomination, whatever they believe in, if they've been where I've been, they can help. They can help. They're a power greater than me because they have experience and they say, Frankie, come out. This is how we see it. But I still have to get my own experience. The literature really helps me. I love doing literature workshops because I like to take it all apart. I've done so many workshops with Aaron, and the most important thing in the workshop is the dictionary, not us, because our minds are distorted and twisted by all the media and shit. When I first got clean, one of the first sharers I heard, which really grabbed my heart and really made me sit up, with this lady called Dr. T. And what she said is 90% of what comes through my eyes and my ears I have no control over. So 10% of that, I have to make sure it's good stuff. I have to make sure it's really good stuff because it's hard to recover in this world, you know. I'm not insane. In the second part of the second step, it says we're insane. And we got 2 minutes here? 3 minutes, thank you. In the second part of the second step, it says we're insane, you know. Basically, we're not. We're only insane if we use drugs. I'm discombobulated when I stop using drugs. What I am is I'm full of character traits, I'm full of character defects, I'm full of inconsistencies, and maybe I might even be lacking in a spiritual kind of direction, because one common theme, and I'll jump deep in it, I've got 3 minutes. One common theme with addicts is that we need this understanding of something outside of ourselves that can help. And for me, it hasn't been fitting for lots of stuff. I have to get more of an Eastern philosophy. I have to be someone I have to be caring, I have to be loving, I have to work at it, I have to be in the moment. For me, in the readings, it says, you know, to be fully conscious, what that says to me, to have conscious contact, means I need to be fucking awake. I have to be in the moment. I can't be off somewhere trying to get it. For me, conscious contact is right here, right now, you guys. Watching you look at me, feeling it, living in this moment. I know I'm present, you know, the old cliche. The gift is the present and the present is the gift. I love all that stuff, you know, and it's made me change. All of this has made me change. I do seek through, my prayer is when I walk along and I say, Frankie, what the fuck's wrong with you? Come on. What is the fuck wrong with you, Frankie? What is your problem? Because sometimes I come to meetings and come to groups and I see people looking at me and they look like they're chewing a fucking wasp. And I take their gear on board. Where the truth is, it's none of my business, is it, what's rattling their cage? You know, just because they don't support the team I support. I can't help it if they're a loser, can I? You know, so I've learnt to change, I've learnt to move forward, and I've learnt to accept myself. And you know what? I do medication, how about that for a Freudian slip? Meditation 10 minutes every day, and I pause, and I don't do it guided. I sit down, and some days when I'm just sitting there relaxing and my dog's snoring next to me, sometimes all of a sudden I'll jump up to go and do something. And I realise I need to bring myself back in the zone. So I phone somebody, I phone someone in recovery, I read some literature, I listen to shares I don't like, just so I can argue with them. You know, it's like, it's great when you argue with a recovery share because they can't answer back. But in and of itself, you know, I'm not going to go into the family stuff, but my family's so grateful. I'm going to finish on one quick story, because I was saying with this earlier with these guys I'm staying with. I was in Holland doing a workshop, and we was doing a green and gold workshop. And while we was doing the workshop, it was 2 days. Workshops are normally an hour. So I thought, yeah, I've got an ego, 2 days. So I do this workshop on the Saturday, and it gets to the end of the day, and I'm getting fucking bored. These people's first language is not English, okay? A bit like our Turkish friends here. Their first language isn't English, you know, so we have to be mindful. And I'm getting bored, so I say to these Dutch guys, I'm going to give you some homework. You know, how do you frighten an addict? Tell them they're going to get some fucking homework. You know, most of us didn't go to school, well, and we're dyslexic, and we're, you know, all these different things. These guys went, okay, what do we do? I said, find a loved one, phone up your loved one who knows you from using and say, is it okay if I take drugs or have a drink? The next day I'm doing the workshop, it gets to lunchtime, and this guy Edmund, he's like the cleanest guy in The Hague, he puts his hands up and says, Frankie, I've done my homework. And I'm thinking, what the fuck's he talking about? And I said, okay, that's good. How did you get on? He says, I rang my mum and said, is it okay if I use? And my mum said, are you fucking stupid? I'm Frankie, I'm an addict, I'll leave it there.
My name's Dean, I'm an addict. Grateful to be clean, grateful to be in a meeting, and thank you, Jennifer, thank you, Frankie. You know, before I get started, the last couple of hours I've been feeling quite cranky, a little bit in my own head, not around the share, just just a little bit agitated. And then when I turned up here, you know, I've always been shown since I come to Narcotics Anonymous that, you know, this program is about we help ourselves by helping others. So as soon as I walked in, tried to see if there was something I could do, help set up, or, you know, to try and get out of that place that I've been in for the last couple of hours. And you know, you know, there's some people in the room that have got a clock going, how long it's going to take till I cry, you know, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. You know, that's who I am, and I believe that I'm very privileged to be able to do that. And thank you, Aaron, for inviting me. Sometimes I just have to pinch myself. You know, I came here to Narcotics Anonymous. I was 25 years of age. I spent many years, I just couldn't stop using. And my story is that I ended up in doorways, with no hopes, no dreams, no aspirations. You know, and that's kind of my journey. And, you know, and that's about as far as I'm going to go with that. You know, Aaron gave me this topic, and my first response was, oh, damn. And, you know, and I'm one of them people, you know, when somebody gives me a topic to share on, I believe that, you know, it's an assignment from God. And I need to know exactly what I'm talking about when I get up here. You know, I've been clean for a while. But one thing I do know is that I need our literature. You know, our literature is written in black and white. Nobody can put their hands on it. Nobody can change it. You know, and I search for the topic. And it's something that I do every single time. And I found it. And it was the Just for Today reading, and I'm going to read it. It says, New Levels of Honesty, June 21st. We have been experts at self-deception and rationalisation. When we come to our first meeting, we hear that we must be honest. We may think, well, now that shouldn't be too difficult. All I have to do is stop lying. To some of us, this comes easily. We no longer have to lie to our employers about our absence from work. We no longer have to lie to our families about where we were the night before. By not using drugs anymore, we find we have less to lie about. Some of us may have difficulty even with this kind of honesty, but at least learning not to lie is simple. You just don't do it, no matter what. With courage, determined practice and support of our fellow NA members and the help of our higher power, most of us eventually succeed at this kind of honesty. Honesty, though, means more than just not lying. The kind of honesty that is truly indispensable in recovery is self-honesty. Which is neither easy nor simple to achieve. In our addiction, we created a storm of self-deception and rationalisation, a whirlwind of lies in which the small, quiet voice of self-honesty could not be heard. To become honest with ourselves, we must first stop lying to ourselves. In the 11th step, meditation, we must become quiet. Then in resulting stillness, we must listen for the truth. We become silent. Self-honesty will be there for us to find. Just for today, I will be quiet and still and listen for the voice of truth within myself. I will honour the truth I find. And, you know, if there is anybody new here, you know, this place is the greatest place that I ever found on earth. I believe this is the greatest place on earth. There's no place like Narcotics Anonymous. You know, I've been coming here, I got clean here, I stay clean here, and I don't go anywhere else. And, you know, when I first came to NA, you know, I'm not sure that I had a desire to stop using. But what I do know is that I was definitely blessed with the gift of desperation. And very quickly I started to recognise that there was loads of other things that were being chucked at me. You know, when it talks about, you know, the three spiritual principles that are indispensable in this program of honesty, open-mindedness and willingness. And, you know, and when I, you know, where it speaks about that new level of honesty, I don't believe that it's got my personal experience. It's got nothing to do from my using. And I say that because very early on, my first sponsor, one thing that he did show me is that, you know, Dean, you can't be powerless and responsible at the same time. And that's something that I've carried with me for a very long time. I believe that it's important that I Yeah, I carry that with me. You know, it talks about in our literature that the only requirement for membership is the desire to stop using. But then it also goes on to say that clean time don't equal recovery. Quite confusing, really. And my experiences, you know, what's kind of mad about this situation and being asked to share on this topic, the last 2 shares that I've done, the first one was open-mindedness. The second one was about changing our behaviours in recovery. And now I'm sitting in front of you talking about new levels of honesty. And I'm currently writing a second step 6. So I'm exactly where, you know, where I know about this stuff, you know, and from my experience is that I'm going to stand up because I'm getting a bit stiff. My experience is that I've come to meetings and for many years I've only ever wanted to use a couple of times, but there's been times in recovery where I was unable to change my behaviour. And I'm aware, I'm very aware, I'm not alone with that. And I'm pretty sure there's a number of people in this room tonight that don't want to use but can't stop some kind of behaviour. And you know, and I believe the reason why NA works for me in the way that it works is because I try my best to grab this with 2 hands. You know, the spiritual principles that are ingrained in our steps are something that's taught me how to behave in a certain way. You know, spiritual principles are behaviours. You know, I'm going to briefly touch on something. About a month ago, I was out in Croatia, and I messaged Aaron, and you know, I was having a beautiful time. I'm with my family, and I messaged Aaron and said, "Have you got 5 minutes?" The illness was on me. And, you know, our literature tells us very clearly that we, on our own, were unable to spot self-deception. You know, and I know this program don't work without you guys. And me and Aaron had a conversation, and within that moment, I sort of set myself up to be in God's will rather than self-will. You know, and I believe that every situation that I have like that, you know, when I'm willing to get honest, I then enter into a realm of recovery. But what I had to do to get to that point of being able to do that with Aaron is that, you know, I needed to, and I still need to, look at the areas of my life where dishonesty still can be present, you know, even with 11 and a half years clean. You know, I'm a firm believer in that thing, you know, the drugs are just a symptom. You know, as I said before, I run around this fellowship doing stuff and being dishonest, and self-honesty. You know, the thing for me with self-honesty is that the only person that knows about it is me. The only person that needs to know about it is me. The only problem is I live with an illness that tells me that everybody else can see it. You know, there's a bit in step 1, the step working guide, and I hear many people. This is my own experience. Step 1, step working guide says it's not the drugs, not the behaviour that makes it, or our attitudes that make us addicts. It said that it's something that makes us prone to obsession and compulsion. Just because I'm here in front of you clean, the disease is still there. The illness is still there. It's whether I make the right decision to be in recovery or to be in the disease. You know that bit about, lying. That was so easy for me to come here and not lie. When it comes down to being self-honest with myself, it then becomes a problem. For me, this is a couple of minutes. We've got a couple of minutes left. I just want to say, if there is someone in here who might be struggling with some kind of behaviour, or maybe with self-honesty, go and find someone that you trust. NA is about never alone, never again. Don't let the illness take over. Because from my experience, the disease still takes over with clean time. And I don't have to use. But from my own experiences, I can tell you I've experienced a lot more pain clean than when I was fucking using. I love you all very much, and just want to say thank you for allowing me to get another day clean and be a part of this speaker jam. Thank you.
Bubbly.
I'm really nervous. Benim adim Bubbly. Ben bir Balelium. Hi, my name's Bubbly, I'm an addict. Just want to welcome anyone new or back from a relapse. Recovery is possible in the rooms of NA. I came in here because I thought I had a drug problem, and I've been given so much. In this moment, I'm not feeling the emptiness. I've been loved so much this week. I'm with people that I shared a home group with for many years, and that's set me up as a really good foundation in my recovery, and I'm super grateful for that. So my topic is filling the emptiness. And, I've come to realise there's many levels to that emptiness. And, I didn't realise it at first. I just thought I pushed stuff down. I was really good at just pushing my feelings down. And I suppose that came from coming from a house where my mum was just incapable of loving me. There was no love, there was no acceptance from my main primary caregiver. And what that did is that just created this longing for love and acceptance, and nothing was ever good enough. And I learned very, very quickly to shut my feelings off and go into fantasy. That's what helped me. I was really lucky enough to have a brother that was 7 years older than me. My parents were immigrants in London, and my dad was always at work, and he'd come home drunk. And, in comparison to my mum, he was angelic. And what recovery's allowed me to do is right-size his involvement and enabling of that, of my relationship with my mum. My mum did the best she could. And that, my mum's side of the family is riddled with addiction. There's loads of people that, suffer from this illness. My dad's side, not so much. So what I found was, I had the fantasy, I had this deep emptiness, this sadness. I was just hopeless, repeatedly going to my mum for love and acceptance and just being shut down. I was just hopeless. If my own mother couldn't love me, what chance did I stand? I must be a rotten person. So when my brother left home when I was about 9, I just didn't want to be at home. I found myself on the streets, hanging about with the older kids, looking for love and acceptance. And where I wasn't held as a child, I found it in the arms of men. And I confused love and acceptance for promiscuity and sex, and I was out of control. And I couldn't feel that emptiness. And I tried to fill it with any and every destructive behaviour. That teamed up with what I know of the disease of addiction, the obsession and compulsion, and things never being enough. There was substances, there was behaviours, there was thrill seeking. Then finally work and money. I was a functioning addict for many years. By the time I hit my early 20s, everything stopped working, and I started trying to find recovery somewhere. And I was in and out of the rooms for about 15 years, getting 10 days clean, 15 days clean, 30 days clean, relapsing, in and out. But it was painful. If you're in and out, if you're a serial relapser, keep coming back. I was always welcomed and loved here, always. While I was still in active using at the age of 20, my brother lost me many years before I lost him. When I was 29, my brother had a sudden heart attack. He was my only source of love up until that point. And when I lost him, there was this emptiness that I've never been able to feel, even to this day. The grief that I feel with his loss. And it's because of recovery I've had the opportunity to grieve and honour that loss. It took me years, like the drugs stopped working, it took me years to get clean. And I would always end up relapsing on his anniversary. My nephew was born 3 weeks after my brother passed away. And I so wanted to be that best aunt for him. And I just couldn't. I was using while my sister-in-law was giving birth. I so wanted to be there. I was in the toilets every 3 minutes. That's how powerful this disease is. I kept coming back. I'm perseverant. I kept coming back. There was nothing else. I tried everything. And I kept coming back, and I did the suggestions, and I got clean. And for a long time, the steps and recovery filled that emptiness. And through while doing that, doing service, I learned many great principles, how to forget about myself, helping others. I learned so much about myself. But alongside that, the one behavior I couldn't put down was romantic relationships. I was still using that to fill this emptiness it was just such a familiar behaviour for me. I was just still seeking that. And what happened about, I think it was like 7, 8 years ago, 5, 6, 7 years ago, I hit a rock bottom around relationships, where I had to make a decision that I was either going to go back out there using, or I was going to do something different this time. And what I did was I chose to remain abstinent from relationships. It ended up being 6 years abstinent, but it wasn't my plan. But in that time, I really allowed myself to go to places without having distractions. Also, what happened in that period was I also got very ill. It was a blessing. At the time, I kept asking God, why have I become so ill? I got a secondary illness. And all this good stuff I was doing in NA, I couldn't do as much. I couldn't attend meetings. Thank God for sponsorship. Thank God for the helpline, share review. My whole recovery had to change. But within that period, what I learned was how to love myself, and how to allow God to love me unconditionally. And through that process, I had many traumatic events. As a child, I had huge betrayals from my caregivers, and then I caused a lot of destruction in my teens. I was angry. I wanted to fill that emptiness with anger and resentment and punishment. And what happened in the last 5, 6 years for me, when I wanted to die, I would rather die than use, was all the message I kept getting from God was, you just need to heal certain things. And I kind of categorically worked through a lot of my trauma. And I had to go outside of NA to do that. And I always did serve it. I still kept close to NA, but I had to go outside because I just didn't hear people sharing that. And, I'm okay with that. And within that period, it was a period of, several years, I couldn't see the light. Because every time I'd heal a bit more, it's painful. Going to these places of, my dad, it was only last year that, God never reveals to you stuff when you're not ready. I couldn't have dealt with stuff 5 years ago. As the years have gone, like my higher power, God's given me, and this happened, and that happened. Because I'd pushed so much stuff just down for so many years. Even last year, stuff around my dad got revealed. And, I've had the honour and the privilege to be his carer for the last few years. And that was hard, living with him. Living with him and this stuff coming up. I had to, while living in the same house, I had to have some time out from him. I'm so grateful for the support network I have and the NA program, because it's given me the tools to not feel so alone in that journey. Also, in terms of like filling the emptiness for me, not dating and learning to date myself, I started to explore what I enjoy doing. What does Bubbly like? Who's Bubbly? What is she good at? And I started doing courses. I started playing different musical instruments. I found out I'm quite good at some stuff. I'm quite good at drawing. I'm quite good at music. I've been given this beautiful life, this second chance at life. And in that process, and in that healing, I started to really love and accept myself, like on a really deep level, and really have a connection to myself, because I didn't have that distraction. Maybe a bit of food, But I was so adamant that I didn't want this secondary illness, and I was so convinced that it was the trauma that had, you know, and the disease of addiction loved using all of that stuff to filter me and separate me from you guys. So it used all of these events. I spent a good few years in grief over my brother. Grief is the price I pay for him not being here. You know, I'm able to be there for my nephew. He's 18 now.
Wow.
I can be that aunt because of this program. I'm just going to share on some filling the emptiness. It came to me today that something happened, and I was praying to God, look, help me carry this message. And addiction robbed me of being a mother. My mother robbed me from being a mother because I didn't want to become her. I was so scared of becoming my mother. And in the last few years, I thought I'd be quite a good mother. I'd be okay. I've got the ability to receive and give love now. And just as that happened, I went through the female change of perimenopause. And as I was praying today around, you know, what does filling the emptiness look for me? You know, this has given me the opportunity to grieve that opportunity. And I'm sure God will show me how I can feel this in the most loving, kind, nurturing way possible. I have faith in that. This share has given me the opportunity to lean into that. So thank you, Aaron, for giving me the chance to share on this topic. I know my higher power's got great plans for me. You know, even if that's just looking after my dad. You know, before I used to think it was these big, extravagant acts that I'm going to do these amazing things. Just being there for my nephew, being there for my people. Being there for... Having a life of meaning and purpose is just... means so much. It fills that emptiness for me. Having hobbies and interests fills that emptiness for me. This week has really filled me with so much love. Recovery has given me the opportunity to feel lovable and to be able to give love. And I just want to thank everyone and the Turkish Fellowship for allowing us to come here and enjoy your beautiful country. And I hope someone got something from that. And I'd just like to thank the previous speakers and you also, Emma. Thanks, bye.
Bubbly!
Like this? Okay. My name's Emma, I'm an addict. Also known as Michael B, who can't be here. And Aaron thought it'd be a good idea to ask me. Thanks, Aaron. So, I generally like to know when I'm sharing. I generally like to do some reading and kind of prepare. And I am so unprepared. And I am not in the greatest of places. But I've been here before. So when Aaron asked me, he said to me, do you remember the time when you was really broken? When you was 18 years clean? That story. I said, yeah, that story. So I celebrated 22 years clean last month. I've had quite a few losses. I'm not going to go through them. If you know me, then you know what my losses have been. I'm going through one at the moment again. I have another parent who's dying. The previous losses that I had, which was my dad in 2009 and Paul in 2015, left me in a place with clean time and very, very broken. Like a pain and a brokenness that I'd never experienced before. It's not like a pain or a brokenness that I had in my using. There's a different pain and brokenness. Couple that with an illness that tells you to say nothing. Couple that with an illness that tells you you should know better because of that time you have. That combination left me in a place of just quiet suffering. And it went on like that for quite a few years. However, my foundation was strong, that kept me coming to meetings, talking to the newcomer in the meeting, making cups of tea for you, reading readings, taking meetings, and still trying to be a part of this fellowship. But like suffering and not knowing how to deal with that grief and that loss. And my lovely sponsor was able to offer me something when she took me on, which is I had set up home in grief and loss. I was drowning in it. And at 18 years clean, I didn't want to be here anymore. It was nothing to do with using anything. It was everything to do with, I don't want to be here anymore. I want to hang myself. And my friend said to me, I'm going to say it to you again, Emma. I told you a year ago to ring this woman. Before you do anything, ring the woman. So I rang her. And the woman that I rang, I'd seen her from day one of her recovery. I'd seen she's a what I call a visible, active member of Narcotics Anonymous. That's what she is. She has less clean time than me. Doesn't matter. She's an active, visible member of Narcotics Anonymous. So I rang her. She wasn't expecting me to ask her what I asked her. She don't normally answer the phone at that particular time. She told me that. Anyway, we had a conversation. And I asked her if she'd help me. And she said yes. And at 18 years clean, as broken as I was, she said to me, I want you to go to a meeting and pick that orange pamphlet up which says sponsorship on the front of it. I'd seen these pamphlets for 18 years and I'd been giving them out to newcomers, because that's what you do with pamphlets, right? You give them out. I'd never read it. I'd never read the orange sponsorship pamphlet that tells you exactly about sponsorship and what sponsors do and what sponsees do. Then she told me, get a pen and paper, and she gave me a list. And kept saying, have you got that? Did you write that? Yes. I had to ring her every single day. And that was like the contract until you get to step 6, yeah. Every day. There was various other things on there as well. Step 10, every day, send it to her. Go to 3 meetings a week. Get service commitments. Read your just for today, correlate it with the basic text. Oh yeah, and then she said, when you next go to another meeting, get the green pamphlet. The green one. That's when she told me I'd set myself up and was living in grief and loss. When I told my friends about that pamphlet, they went, "What did you do?" I said, "I got the pamphlet." I actually rang someone up and said, "If there's not a pamphlet at this meeting tonight, you need to pick one up the meeting you're going to." I think that they call that getting humble. Because I was so broken, I'd have done anything. And I did. And I have. And I still do. And so we went through the basic text together. And I had read the basic text. And I had been through the steps before when I first came in. But there was some time that had passed. I wasn't answerable to anyone. So I decided I'd choose to be answerable, because that list, I'm going to choose to do that. Because my mind works in a funny way, this kind of being told and choosing. I choose not to use. I choose to do this, what I'm being asked to do. I can take it better that way. And things started to change. I started to change. People told me I was starting to change. I was really angry for a long time. I want to fight you all. I didn't care how big you are, who you were, or I just was so angry. And we went through the work together, and I rang every day. And I called every day. I did as I was asked. I chose to. And I started to change, and I started to feel better in myself. I started to, just things changed. My life changed. And I hadn't spoke to my mum for a while. Find families and family dynamics really, really difficult. And I hadn't spoken to her for a while, and it was time to go and make amends to her. So on her 80th. Slightly bad. Not outwardly bad. Shall I carry on? Yeah. Okay. I went to make amends to Mummy on her 80th, and I sat across the kitchen table that I used to use on at my mum's house, and a few weeks, I don't know how long it was a few weeks, went by, and anyway, she got diagnosed with cancer, and I was with her. And that's the journey we're on. And the journey's kind of somewhat changed from 2 years ago of her having her breast taken away, her armpit taken away, chemo, radiotherapy, and then it came back. It came back. And I was 50 in May, and she got the results on my birthday. And it's in her spine, it's in her liver, and it's in her ribs. And it's terminal, but they're still treating it. And I don't know how long we have. And it's excruciatingly painful, like no other pain. I got it. Because this time, when my daddy was dying, I was up to all sorts. I identified with the speaker earlier. I was up to it. I did not want to feel. I did everything and anything I could to not feel or be present. It was too painful. And what I've learned in NA, no matter how hard it is or painful, God will always present another situation for me to try to do things differently. And so that's where I'm at. I'm raw. I'm not doing anything other than being present and looking after mummy. And although I was broken at 18 years, broken, and then felt, you know, alive again, which I still do, and today I do, I just feel incredibly sad. So my 22 years, it was for mummy. I liked it when Jennifer said that about her mummy with 29. My 22 years this year is for mummy. And she wrote in my card, "Mummy loves you." She loves this fellowship. She loves my sponsor. She told my sponsor, "Look after my girl." It'll be all right though, no, it'll be all right. And my mummy will know that she's seen me clean for 22 years. And she will know that as long as I come to meetings, as long as I am answerable to my sponsor, choose to be, and as long as I stay clean and keep doing what I'm doing, she will be able to go wherever it is she's going. She said to the pearly gates, because Daddy's waiting for her. She will be able to have some real peace. Yeah. I want to finish on this. I talk a lot of the time about not liking people. Now, this is true. There's lots of people I don't like. But there's some people that I really love. And there's some people who I've really love me, and I know that. And being here, I've really felt it. I've really felt it. No one's let me be on my own. So possibly I might be able to start warming to other people. I don't think I can say anything else. There's nothing else, you know. Just stay clean. Just got to stay clean. And I am going to finish on this. If you've got clean time and you're sitting there and you're dying inside, or you're doing things and you're keeping it secret because you feel shame, go and find someone and tell them. If you're sitting there and you feel like you want to hang yourself and you've got clean time, go and tell someone. It doesn't matter who it is, just tell somebody. And if you've got clean time, for me, I have to do more work now with 22 years than I did with a year or a day clean. Clean time does matter. It gives you experiences that you can come and share, that gives hope to other people. I hope somebody has got something. I didn't want to do this. Thanks, Aaron.
You're welcome.
I can breathe easy now. Thanks.
Hear me.
Take the mic, man. Where's the
The mic business I don't deal with, man. I can't deal with the mic, man, because it's hard work. But my name is Michael. I'm an addict. Yeah, and thank you, Bubbly, and thank you, Emma, and thank you, Claire, for participating in this gathering. See, what did you say at the beginning? Because it was that in Turkish. I haven't got a clue. I don't ask me to. I'm not going to get that. Yeah? You understand that? Yeah. Wherever. Anyway, my name is Michael, and it's good to share on desperation and passion. I was a desperate addict. I was a very desperate addict. That's the reason why I'm in this room today.
Mikey,
Yeah?
Can't hear you. That's better.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah, I was a desperate addict. That's why I'm in the room today. That's why all of us are in the room today, because we're desperate. You know, and I went through a process of using all my life. For 27 years on and off, I was using drugs. And, you know, first of all, it was good. I'm not gonna deny it. And everybody tell me that drugs isn't good at the beginning, they're liars. Because drugs was all right when I first started. When I had my first puff, yeah, it was good. I thought, well, you know, believe it or not, I was a Rasta man in them days. I used to have dreadlocks. I used to eat Ital food. Never eat no pork. I was giving it all the Selassie with repatriate me back to Africa and all this kind of stuff. 1983, Africa shall be free and all that kind of madness. Smoking weeds. You know when you smoke it, you know back in the day when you smoked the chinum? Proper pipe. None of the little, you know, coconut pipe. And when I used to cough, I used to take off my hat, flash the dread. Rasta, Selassie. Oh, what kind of madness was that, man? I was doing that for years and years and years. But it was all right, though. It was all right. And I moved on from drugs till I found what I thought was the drug of my choice. And it ruined me. It absolutely ruined me. The things I did, the desperation things I did to get that drug was unreal. You know what I mean? I've been in prison, it didn't stop me. I had a kid, it didn't stop me. You know what I mean? I got married, it didn't stop me. I had divorced, it didn't stop me. Nothing could stop me from taking this drug. You know what I mean? I'd done it, I did it. When I did it, I regretted it, and I've done it again. And done it again. And done it again. Every time I run out of money or whatever, I swear to the Almighty that I would never do it again. And when I do it again. And I was doing that for on and off for 27 years, the same thing over and over and over again. Got boring. It got to a stage when, you know, to the age of 43, you know, I said, what am I doing, man? You know, it weren't, when I started smoking back in the day when it was freebasing, 1983, Richard Pryor, Bunsen burner. You know what I mean? From those days, you know, when you freeze, you didn't move. You know what I mean? You were just like, you take a and shh. No one could say nothing. Sweat was pouring down. His sweat was spiders. It wasn't a spider, it was sweat. But he's like that. You know what I mean? Couldn't move, twitching. Just the eyes were moving. That's all it moved. Nothing else moved. I was from those days. And then in 2006, I remember they gave me this thing. And I thought it was massive. It was in cling film. And it looked big. You know when you get the man to use something, you spit it out his mouth, you put it in your, you know what I mean, you know. And I unraveled it. And the cling film could reach that side of the room to that side of the room. And when you're looking, there's nothing in there. And I've done it again. And I've done it again. I swear, Brandon, I want this. I thought I was a yardie in them days, you know, forget it. I'm English. I want this. I've done it again and again and again. And if something happened to me, something snapped in me. The gift of desperation snapped inside of me. I couldn't do it no more, man. You know when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired? Of walking round and round in circles, trying to find just one pipe. That's what I'm looking, one pipe. Not 20,000 pipes, one. Just you call it eye-opener. Just an eye-opener. Just something to make me feel good. I didn't like life. Life on life term was horrible. And I needed something. Whatever it was. And, you know, from that gift of desperation, I found you lot. You beautiful people. Where were you? Talking this lovable thing about your recovery is nice. You never have to use again. You just have to. I mean, who are these people, man? This come from nowhere. This come out of them. You might as well open up the ceiling and you drop down and you start talking a language which I never heard in my life. You never have to use again. You never have. I thought, you what? No, man, you must be smoking some weed. You must be smoking the chinum. Or you must be taking some form of drink. Listen, what do you say? Alcohol is a drug. Alcohol is a drug. Brandy is brandy. Remember I tell you that, yeah? Baby sham is baby sham. Canai is canai. And now you did that. Oh, you remember canai? Canai was right. Canai was right, man. And then all that, and I did that. I come into this place now, and he's saying, alcohol's a drug. I thought, you what? You're mad. And I was getting my head around. Remember, the worst, listen, forget about the drugs. Guinness punch. I grieve, you know. No, you think it's joke. I cry. What do you mean? Got no Guinness. What do you mean I can't have no Guinness? What do you mean Guinness? I've never been on a corner and robbed anybody for Guinness punch. I've never been in jail for Guinness punch. I never stand on the corner for 6 months for Guinness. No! And you tell me, why can't I drink Guinness punch? Because it's got Guinness in it. Okay. I have to get my head around that. And then when I got the passion, when I heard, let me tell you this now, sponsorship is very, 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 very important. And I'm glad the sponsor I had was a good sponsor. Because he told me some things that I didn't want to hear, man. I didn't want to hear it. He told me, you need to do this. Do what? You need to do a thing called step work. What? Now, to some people in this room, it might be a swear word. I'm saying step work. Or it might be service, swear word. Meetings, swear word. You know what I mean? A power great in itself, swear word. But it's not. These are the backbone. These are the things that keep us clean. Look how much people, there's loads of people that work multiple years. So this must work. If it didn't work, I wouldn't be here sitting there talking about how it works. It works. Am I supposed to say you need to do some work? And when he told me to do some work, it scared the living, because I have to change, man. If nothing changes, nothing changes. And this is, and when I looked at this thing, I went, what does the disease addiction mean to me? I haven't got a clue. My sponsor broke it down for me. The compulsion, the obsession. Once I start, I can't stop. Have I ever had one? Never. Never in my life have I said, I'm going to have one, I'm going to save some for tomorrow. Never. Never broke off a piece and put it in my socks. And walk around this thing, yeah, man, I'm cool, man, tomorrow morning I'm going to, nah. If what's in front of me is in front of me, it's gone. Cheese, toenail, bed fluff, anything was on the table. Let me try this. Let me try this. And my sponsor taught me about the insanity. It's not about the use, it's what's going on in your nut, man. All action is born out of thought, man. Everything you do is coming from here. And I had to go for it. Oh, you know, I'm not trying to put people down here or whatever, but they call me 9 Book Daily. All right? Because everywhere I go in the country, I bring my books with me. People says, you could do it on the phone. No, I can't. Listen, I'm too old, man. I can't do it, and I'm blind. I can't see the phone too good. That's why I got glasses, and I got a book. And today's reading's got, you got to change your playmates, your playground, and your playthings. Why are we here? I got to ask myself a question every day. Why am I here? Because I don't want to use drugs ever again. Bubbly's talking about mum being a good auntie. Listen, my daughter loves me. My daughter loves you lot. Not love me, love you. My sister, what? My sister, this one, she cooked all of your food. My auntie. Don't you ask, yeah, I see. My auntie love you. Come eat some food. She give you saltfish and ackee, mutton, goat, seasoned chicken, chicken rundown, bread. Hey, listen, carrot, hey, pineapple punch. No, I can't give this punch. Pineapple punch, carrot juice. You're having a laugh, mate. You having, listen, let me explain. Look, whoa. I watched the timing on this thing, yeah? No, I got some extra minutes for people. But my passion, I love. You see what Narcotics Anonymous has done for me today? I love being clean. If I wake up in the morning and say, oh, God have mercy, I'm clean again. Why? Am I clean again? What the? Don't let me start. See, I will watch what I say. I got my bridge in there. I can't watch what I'm sorry. I don't swear. But what the? I'm clean for. Listen, I'm clean because I want to be clean. I stopped this. Listen, I'm over 17 years clean. And this is for the newcomer. No, this is for the newcomer. Yeah, gunshot and all that. And them got all the boy. Yeah. Never shot a gun in my life, but boy. Yeah. Let me tell you this now. I couldn't get 7 seconds clean. If I'm done, man. My step one shows me you're in trouble, mate. You're bang in trouble. When that thought comes in, if I one use gone. I remember I was in the room with one of my sponsors, and like this person just got up. Frankie was there. Frankie was. But this person just got up. I walk out the room. I said, "Where you going?" I'm gone. Gone. I'm gone. I'm looking at Frankie. Look at my sponsor. I said, "What's going on?" They're gone. There's nothing you could do. When you bring that thought, that process, and you're gone, love of the money ain't stopping you. So I'm fighting of that. The disease of addiction is powerful. I've got people out there now, and it hurts. No, trust me. It hurts when someone goes back out there, because I remember where I come from. I didn't come in, yeah, it's good to be clean. I didn't come in like that. I didn't come dancing and singing, yeah, I want to change my life because I want to come. No, I come in, I'm snotting. You know when you're snotting? Proper snot, you know? No, little jibber. Snot. I come in with snide Timberland boots. I had to put out with it. I put out with it. Snide Timberland boots and a pair of, listen, Umbra. You know Umbra? Umbra, you know? Umbra. And I had my tracksuit. Put crease in it. And I thought I was yeah, you remember that? Who was it? My friend Salma said, he was a tramp. I hurt. But you see, the progression of this, if you stick around, yeah, and try this way of life beyond anything you dream of. Because I'll tell you this now, I'm going to break it down in a minute. I'm going to break it down in a minute. Sorry, bro. And you. 31 Cleveland Road. Room 5. Room 2. Yeah, that's what I've got to say to you, all right? Never thought we'd be here together. When we sat there, we just said, yeah, guess what? In 2000, we're going to be in Nah. And look what we done now. No, not even I see you. Don't do that. I remember your wife come down, your wife to be, your wife then, I said you would dump off Carney. Here's me, take him. Remember that? You're going to dump Carney on him in Cleveland Road. I said, no, take him. Let him go. I can handle it. But we had some, think about it. This is what we're sticking around. Listen, we're tight. We love each other. Like what Bubbly said. This week has been absolutely beautiful. My knees, I was shocking out, man. I was shocking out, man. I haven't shocked out for years. Beautiful. We've been together. We show the unity. We show the gratitude. It's been a lovely week. When you go back home, what you felt, bring it back home. And pass it on to those people and say, listen, you should have been. I got photos. Yeah, I got some gems. Some people are paying me some money because when I put this on Facebook, yeah? Nah, I wouldn't do that to you. Anyway, it's been beautiful. It's been lovely. God bless. And I hope everybody's staying another day clean. Thank you. God bless.